Welcome back to the Launch Party podcast, where we are lifting off into stratospheric success and we want to take you along for the ride. Got Danny and a special guest, Walker, here. We'll introduce him in a little bit. Danny, how's it going?
It's going good. Look at us, guys. New webcam, fucking better quality mic. I got the boom arm. Hopefully I
Nice.
sound better for you guys. No more crappy headset. We're getting into things. We're upgrading here. It's been good. I went to Savannah this past weekend celebrating my 1 year anniversary with the girlfriend. That was a good time. Went to a dueling pianos bar. It was very interesting. Look it up if you don't know what it is. But Esteban went to Arizona for a
Yep.
sales conference, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Did you learn anything useful?
Yeah, it was sick. It was super sick. It was a 2-day conference. So we had like a little Friday night open bar mixer, get to know everyone, and then that next morning we were doing business from 9 to 5. So had some speakers come up. We were sharing a bunch of ideas, got to meet some people, and definitely learned some really cool stuff and met some really cool people. And I brought something I wanted to share with you guys, something that's not it's not necessarily sales specific, so anyone can really apply it. But one of our speakers, who's one of the most respected guys in the industry, and definitely one of the most respected guys at the company that was hosting it, he, part of what has made him so successful is really working on optimizing his belief system, as opposed to just trying to optimize his actions. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people, when they want to implement something new into their life or make some sort of improvement, they just want to change the way they act. Oh, I need to wake up earlier. I need to do more work. I need to say this thing. I need to say that thing. I need to stop eating donuts. But
Yeah.
what we talked about is addressing the belief system behind all of that, because once you're able to change that, eventually your entire operating system is going to change, and you won't just be forcing yourself into all these actions that feel unnatural. So the way he put it is that your experiences shape your beliefs, which shape your actions. So you believe
Mm-hmm.
you believe the things that you do based off of all the experiences you had in life. That ultimately leads to the things that you do on a subconscious level, which, like, 95% of what we do is on a subconscious level, and that's what leads to ultimately the outcomes that you're going to get out of life. So I would say the main takeaway there, to kind of wrap it up, is something he said at the end was, really good leaders in business, when they are coaching someone who works under them, really good leaders coach on beliefs. Mediocre leaders coach on actions. Do this differently, do that differently. Whereas a really good leader says, why are you doing this way? Why are you doing this that way? What is it that has made you think that this is the right thing to do? And then when you start from that frame, then you're able to actually achieve sustainable results. So I'd encourage any of you in your own day-to-day lives, if you have a bad habit that you're looking to kick, just take a step back and think about it. Why is this a habit of mine? Why do I value doing this? Why do I keep doing this even though it's not good? Like, what reward am I getting? And if you have a good thing that you want to implement, why do I want to implement it? What do I stand to gain? And slowly but surely, you start to optimize the beliefs behind your actions, and then the actions just become the default. So that was
Yeah.
my main mindset takeaway there, and I'd figured that I'd share that with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. I've been studying entrepreneurs lately, specifically social entrepreneurs, and something they all have in common is they're visionaries. They think strategic, they think long term, they have an idea or a goal, and then they're leaders as well, and effective leaders in that, and they can get other people behind their ideas and their goal and really change that belief system, so that everyone's on board and ready to take action. So that's good stuff there, Esteban. You know, definitely good experience going to Arizona there for a sales
And
conference.
by the way, I'd recommend anyone, if you're starting off in your career, go to events. The ticket price is worth it. I know some of them are like
Networking.
$1,000, $2,000, $5,000. Trust me, you're gonna get your money back. It's gonna be a crazy experience. You're gonna meet sick people. Do it.
Yeah, learn and network. Keys to success right there. All right, so we got our first guest podcast. episode with Walker Carey, my good friend. I've known him for about 3 years. He's in my fraternity. That's how we met initially. He runs a small online business. He did solar sales last summer, or the summer before. He's got an internship lined up this summer. We'll definitely get into all that. He's also well connected with High Noon through his dad's position, and we'll kind of get into that. And as well as Barstool, and's been able to see, go to a lot of big cities, see some famous people, and learn some stuff along the way. Walker, how you doing? Welcome.
Good. That was a great intro. Yeah, so I've known Danny for 3 years. We were both in the same fraternity, and yeah, that was a pretty good explanation of all the things that I have done in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, everyone here, we kind of want to get an idea of where you're from. What was your upbringing like? What was middle school and high school like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's about 45 minutes north of Atlanta. I grew up in a pretty fortunate city, very supportive family. My childhood was extremely fortunate. My parents looked after me. They kind of let me play, whatever sport I wanted to do growing up. And then I attended Alpharetta High School, transitioned over to golf, and that was kind of my main
Yeah.
sport growing up. And then now I'm at Southern and studying business management in my junior year.
So why did you want to go to college?
The
What
biggest
enticed you to go to college?
like why I wanted to go to college. I think the
Yeah,
first
for you.
reason why I wanted to go to college was I had to. That's kind of what everyone does. I didn't
Okay.
really know why I wanted to go to college. I'm still trying to figure out why I'm in college. Um,
That's good. That's what we alluded to earlier in maybe episode 1 or 2. We talked about college. And the main thing you gain from actually going to college is not the curriculum, it's understanding. Like Walker said, he's figuring out what he wants to be and how he wants to get there still. And college is just a good kind of break from reality in that sense where you can kind of figure out who you are and where you want to go.
So how has that figuring out process been going for you over the past couple of years?
it's been going, freshman year, obviously classes were very similar to high school. It didn't really feel like I was in college. I was taking obviously the core classes. Um, Sophomore year, a little more challenging. This semester has been the hardest one by far. Um, Actually getting into my major, and still got 3 more semesters left.
Yeah, so business management. Why'd you choose that? Or do you even know?
So I started in business marketing and switched to business management in my second semester. Extremely
Mm,
broad. Um, Looking into
yep.
going into sales after I graduate. That is what this upcoming summer internship is going to look like. And I'm going to get a exact idea of what I believe sales is and what I can do in the sales field. But yeah, that's where my head is at right now.
So when you were younger, as a kid, maybe elementary, middle school, what'd you want to be when you grew up, and has that changed?
It definitely has changed. I think kind of middle school area, I wanted to be a professional golfer, and I soon
Mm,
realized how hard playing professional sports is. As I got kind of to freshman, sophomore year, I for some reason wanted to be a lawyer, and then I got into like studying how to become a lawyer and all that, and not for me at all. That is not my personality. And then uh, senior year and then freshman year, I kind of really decided that business is more for me. And then obviously last summer I got a little experience in the sales field, and yep.
yeah, and you know, we kind of talk about our values and raising a family in the future, and I am a stern believer in sports is like the number one predictor of how someone's gonna turn out as an adult almost. Like you learn so much through like pee wee, just even pee wee in little league sports in terms of having rapport with people, being on a team, having teammates, doing your responsibility, learning discipline, doing things you don't like, getting stronger, getting better. And I have an uncle who is he does lessons for guitar, and so a lot of his kids are kind of not very inclined as athletes. And he noticed this greatly. It's like when he was younger, he was kind of similar in terms of he was very musically talented. He did like kind of drama and stuff like that. But then he looks at these kids, because he's been doing this a long time, grow up, and there's definitely a big indicator when it comes to sports whether or not they have played or they haven't played in their past. Probably usually because their parents, don't believe in sports or whatever, and it just your character in his experience, and I know this is kind of anecdotal, is definitely determined to a huge extent if you played sports when you were younger. So when I'm a parent, I'm going to definitely try to make sure my kids are athletic and learn how to be on a team and have discipline, and all those reasons why it's good to play sports. What do you think, Esteban?
I agree. Definitely. Because I mean, it goes beyond the sport itself. A lot of young kids kind of make their, they choose the sport that they want to play, or they choose whether or not to play sports, just based off of what happens on the field. But to your point, it goes way beyond the field itself. And some parents, they don't want their kids playing football because they don't want them to get brain damage. Fair enough. At least get them
Yeah.
playing basketball, right? Get them playing baseball, get them playing something. And yeah, it definitely it builds that sense of camaraderie, and just gets you around other guys your age. And then you get through that competitive young boy sort of fooling around part of your life, and you learn from that. And especially as men, it's valuable to have that in your youth, so that way you're able to have that sixth sense by the time you become an adult.
Yeah, good stuff. So Walker, like I alluded to at the beginning, your dad, what is his position in Barstool precisely? Do you know?
So my dad doesn't work for
I mean, at
Barstool.
High Noon. Sorry,
So
High Noon.
So High Noon is just a product in the business. So the company itself is called E&J Gallo Winery. It is a huge company. They have a bunch of products. 15 years ago, it was only wine. That's why it's obviously called E&J Gallo Winery. And in the last 10 to 15 years, they started going into spirits. And they came out with New Amsterdam vodka, a tequila called Camarina, Pink Whitney. And then 3 years ago, they came out with High Noon. And so he has moved up, obviously, in the company. When he started when he was 27, and he still works for them at 53. So his position now is the national sales manager for E&J Gallo. So he kind of controls a lot. So when he started, when his first big position was that, but in the South, so just Georgia, Bama, Florida, South Carolina, all that. And then kind of around the time High Noon started, that he switched over to that, and he's been very busy with High Noon and how successful it's been going.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. For you, so your dad obviously was able to work his way up in a corporate setting. Are there any lessons he's passed down to you, whether it be in business or in life, that you've learned?
The biggest lesson that I've learned from him is working. I started working when I was 14 years old, legally, obviously. At like 11, 12, 13, I was walking dogs. He just taught me it is so important to work at a young age, and not only to work, but to save your money. I didn't spend a single dollar of that money, so I immediately saved it. And so I worked from 14 all the way to now, but I would say that is the biggest life business lesson that he has taught me.
Yeah, and this is something, as I said, I've been studying entrepreneurs, and specifically social entrepreneurs, as well as kind of like Elon Musk. And whether it be in a professional sports setting or athletic setting or business or any venture that you're going into, the number one thing you do have control over is your effort. Okay. You may not be 6'6" and be able to dunk a basketball and have your head at the rim. But like Kobe Bryant, he was in the gym day in and day out longer than anybody. And he always made sure that he was giving the most effort out of anybody, and that's what led him to be extremely successful. And it's really the same thing in business, and it's the same thing in life. The only thing you always have control over is you and your effort. So yeah, that's definitely some good lessons. Working as a young kid is definitely valuable. There's so many people, and I was in my strategic management class, I think it was, and the first day of the semester we go around, everyone's like, what job? Everyone was asked, what's your name? What's your major? What job have you had in the past? And what career or what job do you want to have in the future? And I remember this one. It goes around, and this one guy's like, "Yeah, I've actually never had a job before, and I don't know what I want to be." And he's a senior in college. It's like, what were his parents thinking? Like, you're 22 years old and you've never had a job or like a responsibility of having a job in your life, like when you get into the real world, I mean, it's going to be a rude awakening.
Walker,
But yeah,
in the beginning, or just when you were younger, with a lot of the lessons that your dad taught you, in the beginning, did they kind of not make sense, or did you feel any sense of like, he's just nagging me around type of thing? And then you sort of grew into appreciating them, or did you always appreciate them from when you were young and you always understood why
yeah,
he was trying to teach you these things?
Yeah, so immediately, we lived right behind a Publix, growing up, and he immediately said, when you turn 14, that is the legal age that you can work. You're going to Publix and getting a job. And immediately, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to bag groceries. Sounded terrible. I knew everyone that worked there too, like the older people, and I didn't want to go work there. And that is not what I wanted to do at all. Um, I obviously worked there for 14 and 15. I was working 2 to 3 days during the week, and then Saturday, Sunday. And I ended up leaving there when I was 16 and going to a different job. And probably about like at 16 or 17, I was like, wow, I'm really glad I did that, because not only did I make a good bit of cash, but I got to get a little bit of that stock in Publix, because that's a private organization. So one, I got to do that, and then two, I got to get a little bit of cash growing up from when I was young.
yeah, it's a good thing.
Oh
Good
yeah.
discipline that you learned there. Speaking of discipline, you know, Walker got a cold plunge, what, 2 months ago? What
December
does
1st.
your, yeah, what does your daily schedule look like, and why cold plunge? Why does your schedule look the way it is?
So yeah, first thing in the morning, my alarm goes off. I don't look at my phone. Don't do anything. I don't want my mind on my phone. Don't want to go on TikTok. Immediately get up, put on a bathing suit, grab my towel, go outside, hop in the cold plunge for 5 to 6 minutes, get out, and then start my day. I've been doing that since December 1st. I think not even skipped. I was traveling for 3 days, and then 2 days it
Mm-hmm.
was 90 degrees here, so I
Yeah,
couldn't even really
it
do
gets
it.
hot.
Gets hot. So since December 1st, I've done it almost every day, and my day's 100 times better doing it than not doing it.
How?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say when I don't do it, I I feel like I need to go get a Monster. I feel like I need some Red Bull or something. Need to take my pre-workout. Um, when I do it, I do it at 7:30 to 8 almost every day, every single morning, and I feel like I just took 3 scoops of pre-workout after I did it. I'm ready to go. I'm making my
Yeah.
breakfast, like jumping around, and uh, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Have you been testing with your diet and the foods you eat and biohacking or anything like that? And your
Um,
energy when you eat certain foods?
yeah. So Monday through Friday, I don't try to eat out. I ate out last night, and that was not a good idea because I felt like shit this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So during the week, I try to keep a pretty clean diet, and I feel 10 times better than I would when I ate fast food the night before. Are you talking more about like my diet with the cold plunge or just in general?
I mean, just in general.
Yeah, so right now I'm trying to get to 200 pounds. So what that consists of is me eating 4,000 calories every single day, and I've been doing that since December 1st when I started doing the cold plunge. So immediately after the cold plunge, I make breakfast. I make 6 eggs and 6 pieces of turkey bacon. Chow that down. I think that's 800-ish calories. And then later I have a first lunch, second lunch, and then a dinner. And the biggest thing that I do is all meat, pretty much all meat throughout the day. I get a little bit of food, little bit of carbs, but I'm almost on like a carnivore diet, but I definitely get a little bit of carbs and some fruit in there.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Nice.
Great to hear. I mean, I'm sure you're feeling great with the ice plunge and the diet. What other goals do you have right now? You said getting up to 200 pounds.
hmm
Do you have any more maybe weightlifting goals, college goals, career goals? Are you doing anything else on the side that, you have in your mind?
Yeah, so weightlifting goals, get to 200, and then my set date to get to 200 is March 1st. Right now I'm currently sitting at 194, so we'll see if we can get there a little
Should be
sooner.
pretty
I would like
close.
to.
Yeah.
As soon as March 1st hits or whenever I hit 200, I will slowly start cutting, go from 4,000 to either 3,200, maybe 3,000, probably closer to 3. And then 1 to 2 weeks after that, drop it down 100 to 200, so on and so forth. Career goals. So this past weekend, I went home for an internship for this summer. It is with a company called United. They're an alcohol distributor in the entire state of Georgia.
Yep.
I have a couple other internship opportunities lined up. United is definitely looking like it's going to be my first priority right now. I've done the most research on that. So that would entail a 12-week internship over the summer, Monday through Friday, occasionally Saturdays, going to beer festival, stuff like that.
Nice.
And that summer, if I end up doing that, I'm ready to lock in and take full advantage of that internship, meeting everyone I can at that workplace, and really getting to know, what the real world is going to be like when I graduate next year.
Yeah, no, you'll definitely do fine. Um, best one.
So that's a sales internship, right?
Yes.
So I'm not sure if Danny told you, but I do sales right now. I
Mhm.
actually have sold solar, so I do want to talk about that in a second. But what makes you want to do sales?
So obviously my dad started in sales when he grew up. So last summer, obviously we can get into that in a second, but last summer I did sales. Really like kind of selling a product to someone. The solar part wasn't as fun because I couldn't really relate to solar. I never had it and didn't really do that much research on it. But I was selling a product and I was determined at the door, I have to sell this product, even if I don't, know that much about it or necessarily like believe in it. I have to sell this product to someone at the door. And I
Yeah.
made a good bit of money down there, and having the opportunity to make a sale satisfied me. And so I think transferring that over to the alcohol business, I'm very excited to see what I can do and learn.
Yeah, and I remember you talking to me about this right after the summer. Some people like kind of on your team performed really poorly, and like you said, you yourself you did pretty good. Were able to make some decent sales. What was the big differentiator that you saw between
So
those two groups?
I would say the biggest thing that I did differently is I worked. I worked consistently. I worked all the hours that I was really out there. For the first couple weeks that I was down there, I was grinding every day, knocking 100 to 200 doors a day. I'd say the people that weren't doing as well didn't believe maybe in themselves a little bit. You got to walk up to the door, with your chest high, and you gotta be persuasive. You have to. It's hard to explain, man. It's going door to door. It's different. Um, it was a learning process. I'm not a master at it at all. I made decent money, but there were a couple other guys that really knew what they were doing, and they still know what they're doing, and they're killing it.
Yeah, Esteban, what was your experience?
So you were in Tampa, right?
Yep, Tampa, Carrollwood area.
Okay, nice, nice. Yeah, I've sold to Lord in that exact same market.
Yeah.
You were with Lumio?
Yep.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I remember Danny
Yeah.
when you first got into it. Danny was telling me about you. Oh, my friend's getting into
Yeah.
solar. So essentially, like, doors knocked was a big indicator of success there for you. I guess something else I would wonder is when it came to actually being on the doors and pitching them well, and what you were appointment setting, right?
Yep, just appointment. Yep.
What to what extent would you say like your sales ability or like your natural charisma, to kind
Yeah.
of paraphrase it, had an impact on your performance?
I would say the biggest factor in my performance, um, I talked normally. I didn't talk like I was selling them something.
Mhm.
I always had a smile on my face, even if it was 100 degrees out there and I was sweating. Sometimes I would look like I was kind of dying out there and I was thirsty, and some homeowner is gonna look at you. Most homeowners are gonna look at you and be like, "Wow, this kid's busting their ass in the summer," whereas some other kids in their neighborhood are at the beach, not even working. So I think I tried to present myself like I was working really hard, and that I needed some water, because majority of the time people would want to listen to you, and sometimes they would even go get you water. And if they go get you water, they're gonna listen to your pitch. And if they're gonna listen to your pitch,
Yeah.
there's a good percentage that they'll at least sit down for an appointment. And as soon as I got that confirmation from them, then I would proceed and continue with my pitch. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say my philosophy when it comes to sales, and Walker just alluded to this as well, is don't try to sell people a thing. Try to sell yourself. People will buy from other people that they like and that they trust. That's who they're going to buy from. They're not going to buy from somebody that they don't like or don't trust. It doesn't really matter what the product is. You got to be able to sell yourself and really get along with people and make people trust you. And I don't mean that in a deceptive kind of way, but just be genuine and authentic and actually, like Walker said, have a smile on your face and just talk to people. I think that's the best philosophy for sales. But I mean, Esteban, what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the fact that I mean, some of it does depend on the industry, especially in something like B2C, specifically door to door, where you are selling to homeowners. It is definitely going to be very important for them to like you. So I did solar for just over a year. I set and closed. I worked in Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. And my best clients were the ones who just really, really liked me.
Yep.
They were the ones who would invite me back for dinner. They were the ones who would. I even had one invite me to a Christmas party. Unfortunately, I wasn't living in Tampa anymore, so I couldn't attend. But that's how you are going to get your best business. But at the same time, it is important to know that in some other industries, or maybe for some other types of prospects who are a bit more logical, more sort of more what's the term, A type, for those types of people, a lot of times you do have to really get to the bottom of their problem and really expose the need for your solution, irrespective of how much they like you. So there is
So it
definitely a
depends on the
balance,
person.
but Yeah, I would say it depends on the person, also depends on the industry. But for the most part, working on your people skills, your ability to present yourself, and your communication skills are always going to be that foundation. And then from there, that's when you start to introduce, your questioning skills, right? Your follow up strategy, and all the other add-ons that are going to take your close rate from that 35% to the 50%. But the big thing is getting from 0% to 35% in the beginning. So that's where your personality really, really comes into play. And I like how you mentioned, Walker, about how it seemed like some guys just didn't really have like that sense of meaning.
Mhm.
If I'm hearing you right, it just felt like they were kind of like they were going out there. Tampa doors are tough. Florida doors in general are tough. They were probably just getting wrecked, and they're like, "Why am I doing this?
Yep.
I don't even like solar. These Lumio guys hit me up
Mhm.
on Instagram and got me out here, and I don't know what the hell is going on."
Mhm.
Um, and the thing is, you have to find that sense of why and that sense of belief beyond just making the sale. So for me, when I got into solar and I started having success, I started to realize like, oh shit, this isn't just about selling the solar and making the money. This is about the fact that I found a career path that aligns with the type of person I want to become. It's forcing me to grow, it's forcing me to develop, and I'm surrounding myself with people that inspire me. So it's like, oh shit, yes, it sucks when you're on the doors getting the door slammed in your face. But when you think of all the ways that you're benefiting, just through the experience alone, that's what's going to push you to, instead of stopping from at the one hood at 75 doors, to going to the next hood and getting 150. And then little by little, your bank account will follow. So yeah, I know that was kind of a side tangent, but if you're going to do sales,
Yeah.
find a reason to as to why you want to do sales, why you think it's the type of environment you want to be in, and why you think that a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, you personally, not just professionally, personally are going to be a completely different person based off of the experiences that you gained,
Mhm.
and that's what's going to push you through all the rejection.
Yeah, there's no such thing as failure. When you fail, you gain experience and you learn something and you gain wisdom and you get better. And you got to see long term in some of these things and, set goals a far way out, not just if I knock on this one door, I need to get this house. I mean, obviously you want to do that, but you want to think of how can I get better at sales? How can I get better at whatever I'm doing? And then in the long run, you're going to be a different person 5 years from now if you keep doing what's difficult. But Walker, to get back to, your internship next summer, you said you had a few different opportunities, and this was what I wanted to ask you before I brain farted, and I just said
Mhm.
fucking nothing. What have you done to get those internship opportunities? Who have you talked to, and have you prepared? Like, what did you do to prepare for interviews and things like that?
Uh, yeah. What was the first question? Like, how many internships
How'd you
I've?
get these internship opportunities?
So the first one, that is most likely that I'm going to be doing this summer. Um, I reached out to United, and the guy that I spoke to immediately knew who I was because he somehow knew my dad. And I talked to my dad about it, and him and my dad were really close when they were like 30. So I ended up getting a coffee with him this past weekend and had a interview with him. And the biggest way I got ready for that interview was honestly when I played a round of golf with my dad, and my dad just kept hammering questions at me, talking about the industry, talking about,
Mm-hmm.
where I see myself in 5 to 10 years, how much money do I think I should be making? Because money should and shouldn't be a factor going into your job. You shouldn't always think about how much money you want to be making, but you should, because where you're going to be working, you want to be getting paid the correct amount that you think you're putting into the company. Um, and so yeah, he just kind of asked me a bunch of questions that he thought that guy was going to ask me on Saturday, and sure enough, he asked me 80 to
Yep.
90% of the questions that my dad asked me.
Yeah, and luckily, Walker kind of has an in the industry, and his dad kind of knew what he was going to get asked and what was going on. But everybody can definitely do this. There's Google out there. You can research everything. You can literally research if you want to get into investment banking interview questions, and they'll give you a whole list, and you just need to practice. Maybe record yourself, do it with somebody in a more, legit, intense environment. And when it comes to interviews, you definitely want to research who you're going to be interviewing with, as in the company. And the biggest tip I can give when it comes to interviews is have at least 3 questions that you want to ask them about the culture, about the company, about current events, about what it looks like, anything. Have 3 to 4 questions, maybe even 5. And then because most people want to talk about themselves. So if you're in an interview and you get the person interviewing you to just talk about themselves, they're going to love the interview every single time, and you're probably going to get a return offer. So those are kind of my 2 cents when it comes to interviews.
Yeah, I would add to that when it comes to sales specifically. I know a lot of people, to someone in sales, this might seem obvious, but your credentials don't really mean a whole lot at all, especially in the beginning when you don't really have a track record. Eventually, like what you've produced and the numbers behind your game will play somewhat of a factor. But if you're trying to get into your first sales role, and Walker, I guess I would keep this in mind if I were you. Although it sounds like based off of how you're describing it, you're not going to go in there saying like, oh well, look, I have this degree, right? And they'll be like, dude, the degree's great, but we want someone who is hungry, who has the right mindset going into this, and more than anything, they want a culture fit. In sales, for sales teams, culture is everything. So if you can be a good culture fit and you can be the type of guy that they can get along with day to day, and that can be coachable, then that's all you really need. Because the sales manager most likely is going to have enough confidence in themselves to know that they can train you to do the things. They can train you how to make the phone calls, how to take the sales meetings, how to do X, Y, and Z. Question is, are we going to like this guy, A? And B, is this a guy that eventually could grow into a position of leadership, or could have influence on the rest of the team in a positive way that's going to impact us all as a whole? So I think it's really important to just show up presentable, be friendly, crack a couple jokes if the opportunity presents itself. And when you're asking questions, ask so in such a way that makes it obvious that you're curious about the right things. So for example, don't just ask, okay, well, how much money am I going to make? Or, okay, well, what kind of, do you guys do company trips? Like, what, or, am I going to get paid leave? Don't ask just like really surface level needy questions. Maybe ask about their culture. Okay, what makes y'all's culture so enjoyable? Why do you guys get along so well? In what ways am I going to be able to develop as a person by working with your team outside of just working and making money? Et cetera, right? And if they're like, dude, I like this guy. He seems like a chiller. He seems like he can get along with us and have a beer with us, especially in your kind of industry. And he seems like
Selling
someone that I can
alcohol.
teach my sales
Yes.
processes to, then you're chilling. You get the job. And shit, I had a question I was going to ask Walker, but I forgot. But yeah,
All right.
I got it now. So yeah, that's how I would my spin I would add when it comes to sales interviews. And what you learn is that if you are a likable guy, getting sales jobs tends to be pretty easy. At least comparatively easy when you think of other industries where it's like you're doing a million applications.
If you're not a likable guy, probably don't get into sales.
Yeah, I look
Like,
pretty hard.
you would know.
So Walker, from what you know already, what's your day-to-day going to look like in that internship, and then in potentially the role that you would progress into if you took a full-time offer? Like, how are you going to be reaching out to prospects? What does the sales process look like? What are you going to be doing? Like, just kind of tell me about that.
Yeah, so briefly, I don't know all the day-to-day yet. I had a chance to talk to last year's 3 interns that did it last year. So Monday and Friday, you work on a presentation that you will be presenting to the whole company at the end of the year. Just each intern has to create their own presentation at the end of the year. You don't know what it's about yet until the first day, and you present that to the CEO and a couple other head guys, and then a bunch of other guys in the company, and that's at the end of the year. So Monday and Fridays are kind of, you get a little bit of time to work on that. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you are out in the field with sales rep going to places around the Atlanta area. This company works with the Falcons, Hawks, Atlanta United, and the Braves. So you will be going to those stadiums, talking to sales reps there, with the sales reps there, getting to see what their each sales rep's field is. And then occasionally you will be in the office. Very rarely, actually. This internship is a lot out in the field, doing some other work that I do not know the exact details yet, but I'm looking forward
Yeah.
to grinding this summer and really getting an understanding of what I will be doing.
Yeah,
So-
definitely just go ahead.
Yeah, so the salespeople, what does their sales what does their sales process look like, and who are they selling to?
So majority of them are on-premise places, which on-premise, if you guys are not familiar, on-premise is restaurants and bars, and off-premise is liquor stores and gas stations. So off-premise taking them home, on-premise actually selling the product on in a restaurant, and that is where we're
Gotcha.
going majority of the time, going to restaurants, making sure they have enough product, getting a new product in the store. Very little off-premise. It's a little different industry. Getting in a liquor store, it's a little different, kind of targeting people at home, whether going to a restaurant and getting a certain product. But yeah, Tuesday to Thursday, going to a bunch of restaurants and bars in the Midtown, Buckhead, Sandy Springs, all that area.
Yeah, alcohol and drugs are the industries to be in when it comes to making a profit. You know, everyone always wants to be drunk and do drugs apparently. Like you look at Starbucks, I mean they just load those coffees and those drinks up with caffeine and sugar and just gets everyone and their mother hooked on it. And all day long Starbucks has a line all the way around the store. It's ridiculous. So alcohol and drugs, man, those are the industries you want to be in if you want to make some money.
Yep. If the stock market crashes, where are people going?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're going to the liquor store either
Liquor
way.
store to get
When you-
something
when-
because they're going to be in the house for the next couple of days. Like
Yeah,
alcohol it will never die.
when they're broke, they're drinking more alcohol, and when they're rich,
Drinking
they're
alcohol.
going to parties and drinking more alcohol.
That's funny.
It is a crazy business.
Yeah. So that's good. You know, definitely just work hard. I know you're going to do good this summer and in that business, but you know, building on top of that, what do you want to be like in 5 years career wise in terms of what do you want your life to be like in 5 years if you've thought about it?
In 5 years, okay, so I will be 26 years old. At 26,
Yeah.
I hope, I will be in a company that I strongly believe that I could retire with. That's a good goal, but most of the time it does not work out that way.
Yeah.
If that happens, that would be perfect. It happened for my dad, but that rarely happens. I feel like nowadays people are moving to different companies. I feel like every year or two. That's my goal, to possibly be in an area, or at least in the company. I can move around in a different area, but in a company that I believe that I could retire with. Money wise, I would love, in 5 years, I would love to be making six figures. I mean, anything over 100K, that'd be awesome. My first year salary, my goal is anything over 70. I think 70 is a
Yeah.
perfect number. I really got to work hard for that. I would love to stay in the Alpharetta, Atlanta area. I feel like that area is booming right now. It has only gone up since I was a kid there. But yeah, in 5 years, I would that's kind of where I would like to be in 5 years. It's a goal. It's a hard goal, but I think I can get there with hard work.
Yeah, easily. I mean, you could definitely get to that six figures mark. Like it's ridiculous. If you have a family and you're only making 100, I'm gonna say only making, and you're making $100,000 with 2 kids and a wife, and that's your household income, you're actually broke nowadays with the way the economy is and the way inflation is and how just expensive everything is. If you're only making $100,000 a year now with a family, like it's crazy. 100,000, 6 figures 20 years ago was like a great salary, and now the way the economy and the world's heading, $100,000 is almost broke for a family. But you'll definitely get there, no problem, if you just work hard and keep on the track that you've been on. I've definitely seen improvements in you, and from 3 years ago to now, waking up at 8 a.m. I mean, you should see the kids at Georgia Southern College. Like half of them wake up at 3 p.m. and I'm not even kidding you. Like,
Half more,
I mean, not half of them. I
more,
mean, yeah,
more.
3 p.m. Like regularly, and just don't go to class. But
Yep,
I digress.
yep.
But let's
That's
get
a
into some more
that's a
fun
different topic.
topics. Yeah, let's get into some more fun topics. Walker has been on some interesting trips. So, High Noon and through High Noon, your dad's kind of also related to Barstool, because you can go into that real quick.
hmm
And then where have you gone because of that?
Yeah. So High Noon started about 3 to 4 years ago, and it was doing fine. And my dad and his partner, they were kind of like the same position. They strongly wanted to get to merge with Barstool for High Noon. They thought Dave Portnoy would be a
Hmm.
great sponsorship, and so they got together with him about 3 years ago, and High Noon has only gone up. So they got together with him. So last summer we got to go on a trip to Pinehurst, North Carolina. It's a golf course in over in North Carolina. It is a prestigious golf club. It is a semi-private golf club. You can play. It's public, but it's semi-private. So we got to go on a trip there, and it was a Barstool and New Amsterdam and High Noon type of trip.
Yeah.
So we got to see Barstool film a YouTube series. It was like 5 or 6 videos, and we got to see the whole camera crew and everything, and Dave hitting a golf club, and that was brutal to watch. He can't hit a golf club for he can't. It's so bad watching, but it's content. That's their business. It's content.
Yeah.
It's not how well he hits a golf ball. It's strictly content. So we got to see that. Um, so we went there, drank a lot of High Noons. I was the only kid on that trip. My dad really wanted me to go on that trip. And I got to learn a lot. I talked to a lot of the sales reps for High Noon, and I also got to talk to some managers for Barstool, and I got to learn a lot from both sides, and kind of just gathered my thoughts and moved on. And um, when I got back home, I really, really, really wanted to go back into the alcohol business.
Yeah. What did you talk about with these higher up sales reps, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, so one night we had a dinner, and it was 15 adults and me. And usually at a dinner table with 15 adults and one kid, the adults are thinking who is this kid? Like why is this kid here? Blah blah blah. And they just kept firing questions at me. Um, and I told them my entire life story in an hour or two, while getting drunk, drinking some High Noons with them. They told me how important it is to work at a young age. They thought that was awesome. Um, they they were very interested why I wanted to go into the alcohol business. They were a little curious, like why a 20-year-old kid would want to go into the alcohol business. And I got to get some information from them about their side of their work experience. Um, And then, but yeah, it was overall, it was a great trip. I learned a lot. And now I'm kind of using the information they gave me to pursue my internship this summer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And like you said, with the exclusive golf courses, so are you still a caddy at what's it called?
It is called a Hoopy Match Club.
And this is 100% exclusive, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is
So
as exclusive as the Masters.
yeah. So how'd you get into there? I don't know if you're probably not allowed to talk about who you've met, but what kind of people have you met?
Yeah, so I worked at a golf club in Alpharetta growing up from 16 to 18. I worked in the outside staff, and I was extremely friendly to a lot of the members there. They knew I was a good golfer. They knew I went to Georgia Southern, and one Christmas break when I went home for my freshman year
Mhm.
Christmas break, I was talking to one of the members saying, how I go to Southern, semester's going great, and he said, "Have you heard of a Hoopy Match Club?" And I was like, "What?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is." I didn't even know what word he said. I didn't know what a hoopy. I didn't even know if that was a word. And so he reached out to the golf pro down there and asked if I could have an interview for the pro shop at a hoopy. And so I interviewed for the pro shop, which would be like inside selling merchandise, like creating tea times, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And I interviewed with him, and he interviewed me. He was like, you would do fine here, like you would do a great job. And then he started talking to me about like my golf game, how long I've been playing golf. And I told him I've been playing golf since I was 10 years old. I'm a one handicap. I love playing golf. And he was like, why do you want to work in the pro shop? Like, do you not want to be a caddy? And I was like, I've never thought about that. I didn't even know that was an opportunity. I got called in here to go into the pro shop. And he was like, yeah, like come out here. And I met the caddy master, which is my boss now. And so the same day I had an interview for the pro shop, I also had an interview to be a caddy. And so that was like I think that was like a 4-hour interview for the job I went into trying to get. I left with a job that I had no idea was even there. So I interviewed with him, did a couple like caddy scenarios, like shooting the yardage for the members,
Mhm.
carrying bags. And he told me the biggest thing about caddying is they're not here to play golf, they're here to have a good time. And
Yeah.
that's kind of correlated and helping me into sales. I'm not out there like helping them play golf. I'm showing them how to have a good time out there, and that has transitioned over to me selling a product in the sales field and satisfying a customer. So yeah, it's been a pretty interesting couple rounds out there. I've got to caddy
Yep.
for some pretty cool people. I haven't caddied for this person, but Rory McIlroy is a member there. He comes out pretty regularly. But I've caddied for a lot of successful people, and they've told me a lot of stories and how they got to where they are.
Yeah, what have you learned from hanging out or caddying for these super successful people? Have you noticed anything, different from the way these ultra exclusive successful people act and how they talk or what they talk about than like kind of, ordinary people?
The biggest thing is they care that I'm out there carrying their bag. They care that I'm talking to them. They don't want someone out there that's just gonna be extremely respectful and not talk to them about the world. So I'm out there, but we're busting balls with each other. Like they're getting fucked up. Occasionally they'll give me a drink, and we share some mixed feelings about certain topics in today's world. And majority of the time we have very similar beliefs.
Hmm.
But the biggest thing that they have taught me is school is extremely important. Your personality is 10 times better or more important. You have to be presentable to your manager, to someone you're interviewing with. You have to show them that even though on paper you have a 4.0, you have a bunch of other jobs that you've had, you have a bunch of awards and some like community service that you've done. It's all about actually who you are and who you want to be in the company and why you are going to change their business.
Yeah. And definitely go into an interview or any kind of scenario with an idea of what you want to, sell yourself. Why should a company hire you? Like, are they going to gain out of hiring you, and what are your goals for the future? Like, they'll ask you a lot of times, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Just how I asked Walker. And it's great. It's a great answer to actually have thought about that and say, I want to, work my way up at this company, be a manager or a sales, a big time sales rep, or, and provide value to you guys. So definitely think about how you can provide value to not only like an employer, but also the people around you, the world around you, society as a whole. Do what you can to actually provide value and improve the performance capacity of society. But I did want to touch on as well, you're like, personality is more important than any really like 4.0 or credentials that you could have. Unfortunately, some people aren't very personable and don't have a great personality, at least on the surface. Esteban, with your sales conferences that you went to, or just even online, do you have any tips? Have you heard any tips or any things people can do to kind of be more personable?
Listen.
Yep.
And I mean, this is Dale Carnegie 101. Listen to the people who you're speaking with. Be genuinely curious in what they're saying, and be willing and able to really drill deep into what they're telling you, and really get them to just be that kind of person that someone can really share their ideas with. One example of what not to do that I've become very aware of in out in the world, and I try to avoid this myself, is when you're speaking with someone and they tell you something really cool, they tell you something about their personal lives, they tell you something they're working on, etc., or they tell you something that happened to them. Don't right away, I mean, maybe later on in the conversation, but don't jump out at the opportunity to flip that into a similar scenario that happened in your own life.
Mm.
Oh, that's awesome. The same thing happened to me, blah, 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 blah. Oh, when I went there, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it's great to be able to be relatable with people, but I think what separates people who are very, very personal and who really get along with others and those who don't is that ability to just be very present and really get the most out of having conversations with people. And again, Daryl Carnegie 101, that's what's going to make you memorable. A lot of people think that in order to become memorable, you have to say cool shit. That's not true. It's not about the quality of the things that you say. It's about the quality of your ability to understand the things that they say. And that'll take you very, very far. Of course, in sales, you have to really be able to listen to the prospect and really be someone who they can trust and who they feel like they can actually get something out of sharing things with them, or else they'll always stay surface level with you and never really open up about what they actually want. But also just in day-to-day life, just try to, and at least in the short term, if you're trying to implement this, try to be the one who talks less and try to be the one who asks the most questions. And
Yeah,
from there,
and
no one's going to dislike you if you just kind of sat there, nod your head, ask them questions, and just like genuinely learned about what they had to say.
Yeah, and people will tend to pour into you as well if you're actually actively listening.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone says, "Hey, this is a good thing that happened in my life," instead of saying, "Oh, something similar happened to me," and try to like one up them, say, wow, that's amazing. People want to feel good about themselves and want to hear and feel like that they're doing good things, and to reassure people that, you're a good person, you're doing great things. Like, people love to hear that, and then they'll instantly be, attracted to you. And that's, definitely what Esteban's been alluding to. That's some good takeaways there in terms of being more sociable, more present, be an active listener. Don't do all the talking. Sometimes you got to listen. And even if you're talking with your enemy, it's better to listen and see, what it's better to know what your enemy's plans are. If you're the one talking all the time when you're, with, your enemy or someone you're competing against, then they're going to have a better insight on you than you are on them. So definitely try to listen instead of talk all the time. But yeah, so Walker, where you went to Vegas? How was
Yes.
Vegas?
So
I went to Vegas too.
I went to Vegas in October for just to kind of get away a little bit with my dad. We went to the Patriots game. My dad and I are diehard Patriots fans. I was extremely
Go Pats.
spoiled. I was extremely spoiled. Danny and I were extremely spoiled growing up.
Yeah.
Getting to
suck.
witness 6 Super Bowls and a dynasty run. So yeah, we went to Vegas to see
And the Red
Mac
Sox.
Jones take on the Raiders, and that was the worst money I've ever spent. I was sad. I spent too much money on a terrible team. Pieces are not put together right now. I don't know what's going on. We got a new coach. Hopefully something changes. But yeah, we went to Vegas to see the Patriots game. That was my first time I was in Vegas at 21. And we got to play a little bit of golf out there. But yeah, it was a pretty fun trip. I got to connect even further with my dad, talk to him even more about the real world and the alcohol business and stuff like that. But the most recent time I went to Vegas on December 16th, when that was the weekend of UFC 296. That was who was fighting? It was Covington versus Edwards, and that was a great fight. It was a great fight. Before the fight itself actually wasn't that great. It was all talk before the actual fight. But it was a great time. That trip was sponsored by New Amsterdam, so I got to talk to more sales representatives out there who work on the New Amsterdam side. New Amsterdam is a sponsor for the UFC, so I got to talk to them about that and kind of saw that side of things on the West Coast, because it's different. It's different everywhere. It's hard to believe, but every state is very different. So I got to see the alcohol type of sales in Nevada, and I also got to go to the Sphere. And if you don't know what the Sphere is, it is a amphitheater that is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it's a ball,
massive sphere.
It's a massive sphere, and you go inside, and there's I don't even know how big it is, but it's almost the entire inside of there. It is just all screen, and we got to see U2 perform in there.
Nice.
It was about 2 hours long. They performed probably 25 songs. It was pretty cool. Obviously listening to the songs was awesome, but watching definitely was an experience that I would highly recommend. It was a little pricey, but it was worth it 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely a new thing that came out. When I went to Vegas last New Year's, so not this past New Year's, but the one before, me and my friend Mac, we just went on a budget. It cost $140 for the hotel and $160 for the flight, so we were all in for $300. First day, I binked a 4-leg money line parlay because we got in on a Sunday, and there's a huge time change. NFL, So then I was up money on the trip already, and I was able to just like kind of skate my way through and not lose money, not gain any money from that point on. Doing some roulette and some fun stuff. But I'll say to get the full experience in Vegas, and Walker, you could probably confirm this. I would say you need at least like $10,000 to actually spend on stuff and spend on gambling and just events, going to the Sphere, going to clubs. It was a great experience as a budget trip. But if you really want the full Vegas experience, you need some money to burn.
Yes. Most people think Vegas, I mean, obviously Vegas is about gambling, but there is so much stuff to do. So much.
Man, it all costs money.
I don't think there's a single person that has done every single event or eaten at every restaurant in Vegas. There's so much stuff to do. Yeah, I'd say 5K, you could have an unbelievable time. So much to do.
Was that the trip you saw Donald Trump? I mean, we don't want to get canceled or anything, or was that a different one?
No, that was the past one. Yeah, so I got to see DT, Donald Trump. I got to see him on probably 20 feet away. That was pretty cool. UFC is a different type of crowd. Yeah. Everyone there was
it's a little
extremely
biased,
excited that he was in the building. I got to see Theo Vaughn. I got to see the Nelk boys. Who else did I get to see? I got to see my favorite. David Goggins. That was pretty cool. That was awesome.
Lift the boats.
Carry the logs. He was in he was in someone's corner for the fight. Forget who not Covington. Ferguson. Tony Ferguson. He was in his corner, and I'm not sure if you've seen clips out there, but when Tony was, I think it was in the third round, he was on the stool that they bring out kind of in between the rounds, and David's in the back just screaming at him and didn't do anything because Tony is an old fuck that doesn't know how to fight. So
someone's got to carry the boats and the logs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I'm going to read one of his books pretty soon here because our neighbor has one of the David Goggins books. Yeah.
Can't Hurt Me?
Who?
Yeah, Can't Hurt. Eric.
Highly recommend
it. Oh, no way.
Did you read that one, Can't Hurt Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's on my reading list. But yeah. Last thing, like I said at the beginning of the podcast and Walker's intro, he has like an online business that he works to, kind of client-facing, day-by-day thing. Walker, what have you learned from running your own small business and dealing with people when it comes to, clients and money and things like that?
Biggest thing is it's really hard to run a business by yourself. I run this business completely by myself. Day to day, responding to customers, stuff like that. You really need a good team to have a successful big picture business. The biggest thing I'd say I have learned is every client is different. Every single one. Some are extremely grateful. Some are really nice, and some are not good humans. But
yeah, it's hard to appeal to everybody.
Yep.
Well, it is what it is. It's been real, Walker. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. Any closing remarks? Any words of wisdom from Walker Carey, the salesman himself?
I wanted to ask that specifically, like Walker, just general life advice for other people watching who are in a position like ours, say
college,
late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, right? They're trying to launch into life.
Into stratospheric success.
Stratospheric success, yes.
Biggest piece of advice, networking. That is everything. Literally everything. Everything. I've met so many people, and the last couple months I've really gotten to narrow it down to who I want to work with. Having more people is a lot better than having less. Knowing more people is a lot better than having less. So I would say the biggest thing, networking, talk to people. Like it's something out of most people's comfort zone, and that's why it doesn't feel normal to go out of your comfort zone. You gotta talk to people. Do something that's not normal. You gotta go the extra step and really put your name out there. But yeah, that's easily the biggest thing, networking.
That's
Yeah,
fire.
become better communicators, do something like we're doing. We're out here, this isn't necessarily comfortable, but, we're trying to
Different,
start a podcast, do something different, learn something, become better at something. And I did want to mention this at the beginning of the podcast. If you're a listener and you want to be on the podcast and you think you got something interesting to say or have a walker, similar or what did I say? A walker?
A walker.
If you have a life experience and a story similar or different than Walker, DM us, email us. We'll get you on the podcast. We want to have like a listener guest podcast episode. I think that'd be great. Thanks, Walker, for joining. Anything else, Esteban?
No, that's it. That's a good conclusion. I think that advice is really good, Walker. Talk
You are
to
who
people,
you know.
Send the text, send the LinkedIn message. When you're at the event, go up and smile and put your hand out. What's your name? It'll take you very far.
Yep.
Yep, it's been real. Thanks for listening, everybody.